we now go on to the final thing that, it might be the final thing. It depends on whether we get Sean on this or not. This might be the final thing you hear about this week. If not, if we're to get actually speak to Sean, you will hear some other stuff as well. So, this is What If, because I decided to be a total cliche parody of myself and become the Marvel correspondent for the week. I got to see Eternals. Let's see, so you were talking about all this interconnected stuff that they're doing between TV and film and all that. So I was like, oh, we saw something in cinemas with Eternals, and I'm going to see some Marvel stuff at home with What If, ... question mark. So, What If is, what it says in the day, is essentially it's a series of alternate takes on Marvel stories. So you have things like, what if Peggy Carter took the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? So you actually, instead of having a Captain America, you essentially have a Captain Carter who's Britain and has, like, a Union Jack on her shield and all that. It's a whole bunch of different things, some of which I think are intriguing and some of which I think are kind of like, whoever thought that? So, for instance, like, what if Captain Carter took the serum? I'm like, yes, I'm down with that. I can get behind why that. But it's like, what if T'Challa became Star-Lord? So if T'Challa from Black Panther was taken from Earth and became the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, I never thought that. Never thought that for 1 second. I'm like, it's like, why did you come up with that? And so there's some of them there's one of them which is like, what if Thor was an only son? And sometimes the title of the episode doesn't really tell you what happens in the episode. Like, what if Thor was an only son? So obviously the idea being that Loki never showed up on the scene. But the funny thing about that episode is that half an hour episode ends up being a better, more affecting take on the Thor story than the film Thor itself, which I think for me it just highlights to you how much more confident Marvel have gotten over the last 10 years as they've been building this thing, and they've known how to tell these stories, and they've known what people will take, because the first movie of any one of these characters, I think, is usually quite tentative. It's quite kind of, let's just step gently here, let's not go for anything, let's not swing for the fences, let's see if people will like it. But then as things went along, usually by the third film of the third Captain America, the third Iron Man, the third Thor, they're going, okay, cool, now we're going to swing for the fences, we know what people can take. By the time you get to Endgame, and I think What If is really, each episode starts off with a character called Uatu, voiced by Jeffrey Wright, who tells you that he's the Watcher, and he watches all the possibilities that could happen. So this happens here. It's like, what if Tony Stark at the beginning of Iron Man in Afghanistan, Tony Stark was never injured and never taken into a cave. What if he was saved by Killmonger, the bad guy from Black Panther? What if he was saved? What would have happened then? So you would never have had an Iron Man, and how would that have gone on? And how would the world have looked different? And some of them, I think most of them are actually really, really well done. One of them that I did not expect to be as effective as it was the Doctor Strange one. Is what if Doctor Strange lost his? It says, what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? So, in the Doctor Strange movie, he's a surgeon, he crashes, he has nerve damage, so he can't perform surgery anymore. And that's what sends him off on his quest to. But in this one, it's changed slightly, and it's what it does to him, and how he kind of becomes obsessed with trying to bring somebody back to life, and what it does. And that was actually a really, really effective story that I did not expect coming. There's another one of what if Ultron won? So obviously, the Age of Ultron. And the thing is that it goes through all these separate realities, just going, okay, what happens here? What happens here? And this is Marvel beginning to delve into the multiverse, saying these are all these different realities, all these different things that could happen. Some of them are a little bit of a fun aside, and you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. Some of them seem to go a little bit more serious. But by the time it gets to the end, you see what they're actually trying to do. And the final episode of What If brings all of these strands together and says all these different what ifs, this is where they lead to this one big thing. And it actually sets up some stuff for that. There's possibilities, because, as I said, I'm getting a bit worried about where Marvel is going next, because it's infinite. There's loads of different ways they could go. It could eat itself. It could blow up. And so it worries me slightly, because they could do anything from here. But I guess that's also kind of the excitement about it, is that they could do anything from here. And how they go about it and how they decide to take this whole thing about the new opportunities that they have will determine whether Marvel continues this run that it's been on, or will determine whether it's falls flat on its face and whether this is where it all ends and we go, well, that was an amazing run that has never been seen before in the history of cinema. Thank you for that, Kevin Feige, but it's over now. So, so it's yeah. But so the TV show itself, I think, just going through some of the different possibilities of what could have happened, it recreates some shots because it's all animated. It recreates some shots, almost shot for shot from the films, to say, oh, imagine this scene, but with something changed. That scene, but with something changed. And well, being a Marvel fan, I really, really liked it. But I think that they also did quite good. They made good use of them alternative reality thing to examine some things that possibly they would not have been able to do it on the big screen, or might have been prohibitively expensive, and might have been too risky because they don't know if anybody would have gone for it. So yeah. They even have one. It's like, what if zombies? So what if there's a zombie plague that takes over the Marvel world and pretty much half the superheroes become zombies? What do you do then? And it's but anyway, I'll stop talking. But all in all, I would give it just about a 4. Just about a 4. There are some episodes that are better than others, some episodes which are higher quality than others, some episodes which hold your attention more than others. But all in all, I would give this series a 4.
Okay.
Any questions on that, Sharon? I know it's animated and you might not, for that you might avoid it forever, but any questions you have about What If?
I quite like speculative sort of things, so it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if I could tolerate the whole series, but there might be ones I think I might actually be able to sit through an hour of animation for that.
Or an hour a week. Okay. So let's give you.
I don't think I could do an hour a week.
All right, cool. Let's go through it. What if Captain Carter was the first Avenger? What if
that one sounds intriguing?
Yeah, that one is definitely intriguing. What if T'Challa became a Star-Lord? I think it's a rubbish title, but they actually do quite. There's some really okay. So there's the actor Jimon. I'm not sure whether it's pronounced Jimon or Jimon Honsu.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, Honsu. Yeah, and so he plays a character called Korath. Korath the Abuser or something like that. And he's shown up in Captain Marvel, and he's shown up in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, I remember him from Guardians.
And you have him there, but he doesn't really do anything in those films. Like he just sort of stands there being posing and then gets dispatched. And in the What If T'Challa became a Star-Lord, if for no other reason, for the fact they bring Jimon Honsu back to voice this character, and his reaction every time he's around T'Challa is hilarious. He just totally fanboys all over him. He's like, "Oh my God, it's Star-Lord! I can't believe it's you!" It's like, and I think for that alone, from what I thought was a rubbish title, for that alone, I was like, yes, this is worth it. What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? So this is essentially, it's kind of like almost like a slasher movie where somebody's going off and picking off the Avengers one by one, and they're trying to figure out who's doing it, why they're doing it, and how they're doing it.
Is it to interject? Sorry for a moment. Is it the same style throughout, or is it they have a different sort of animated style for each episode?
It's the same animated style throughout. So
it's the same throughout. Okay.
It looks the same. It looks the same. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? And said, what if zombies? That's just the title of the episode. What if zombies? What if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? What if Thor were an only child? I actually mentioned most of these. What if Ultron won? So essentially, what if Ultron at the end of Age of Ultron actually managed to do what he wanted to do and get rid of that? That is a dystopian. That is massively dystopian. It's actually really upsetting. It's really upsetting. And then the final one, what if the Watcher broke his oath?
Oh.
So 9 episodes. So I would say, but if I was going to tell you one to watch, I would say Captain Carter, the first episode. What if Captain Carter were the first Avenger?
Yeah.
I would say watch that one because I think that one, it manages to, because if you remember the end of the first Captain American movie, and I think Captain America, it Marvel are really good at ending the movies on like the last line of the movies is usually spot on. And I think the Captain America: The First Avengers has one of the most affecting last lines, where Captain America wakes up in the present day, realizes that he's been asleep for 70 years, and Nick Fury goes, "Captain, are you okay?" And he goes, "It's okay. I had a date." And it just ends on his face
Yeah.
with him realizing everything he's lost, and he just says, "I had a date." And I don't know why, but that line kind of like just gets me. It just gets me every time. And Captain Carter with the First Avenger manages to recreate, without doing that line, manages to recreate that kind of feeling again in a half an hour. It's some of these are
Wow.
masterful. Some of these are masterful. I think the What If Thor were an only child is really funny. And funnily enough, What If Thor was an only child, it has a more believable love story between Thor and
Jane?
Jane. Yeah, Jane. What's her last name? I can't remember. It's not Jane Porter. No, that's Natalie Portman who plays her. Anyway, it has a more
Yeah.
believable story between Thor and Jane than the film Thor does. Because I remember, I remember watching the film Thor and going, "Where the heck did that come from?
Yeah.
You
Where's the
didn't build
chemistry?
you
There's no
didn't build
chemistry.
that up whatsoever." But the animated version, in half an hour, you're like, "I totally get this. I totally believe that these two." It's like a crazy, crazy bender. But anyway, yeah. But that's it. 4 stars for What If. So we'll see what Sean says, and